Mind the temperature of the fragments of silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, are Petty and Golix. Let us get to the news. Petty, why don't you start us off this week? How is your health?
Overall okay, but I may have the surgical wound on my back may be infected, so that's not great.
How infected?
It's not super
Like
bad,
surface or like inside?
but they're not sure.
That's not good.
They
Because
took some.
an outside infection isn't that bad. A deep infection is bad.
I don't think it's very deep. I think it's just like outer surface. But the problem is where the wound at goes all the way back to my spine.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So if it goes back, that is very, very, very bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially because where they put the pump in isn't fully healed yet. So last thing I need is fucking meningitis.
Any kind of infection, but
so yeah, they took a swab of it to see what it was and gave me at least some like lower end antibiotics because my problem is I'm allergic to a lot of penicillin-based antibiotics, so that's fun.
At least they have something for you.
Like if they have to, they can admit me to the hospital again if it's they need to use anything that I might be allergic to, but hopefully it doesn't get that bad.
Yes, I would say so.
So yeah, I still have the lifting restriction, and I'm not allowed to really bend over much because
because you've got a thing in your spine.
That and the wound,
and it's still adjusting.
Yeah, and the wound needs to dry out and seal up before I start doing something stupid.
I mean, were you expected to be doing any heavy lifting?
Not as much heavy lifting as more like bending over because I need to do cat litter boxes, but those are on the floor. I can't bend over to the floor.
They don't need to be on the floor.
Unfortunately, because
it's optimal for them to be on the floor, but I'm sure the cats could figure it out if they had to get put on a table.
Maybe, but my sister's cat is kind of dumb and would probably dump it all over all off the table. So yeah.
Oh, I forgot. Some of them take their job as gravity inspectors very seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, Petty, did you cut the reviews?
I think I forgot. I will check that when we're done. I can't remember if I did them or not. I probably didn't because since we did them a day late. Yeah, I had to doing it because I was waiting for the episode to process. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be done either this evening or tomorrow.
Anyway, so how's the actual pump been working?
Fine. Because I'm on such a low dose, I actually need to get it filled once a year currently. Though I haven't started physical therapy yet and haven't been very active, so they may need to up it, and we'll go from there. So it's one of those. It's good where it's at right now, but because I haven't really been able to do a whole lot, we don't know if it needs upped or anything like that, but at least there's plenty of room to go up.
Duly noted.
So yeah, I'm just waiting.
Yeah, go.
I'm just waiting to hear back on the culture results from the thing on my back, and then hear back from physical therapy.
When does that happen?
Soon? Question mark? I don't know if they sent the prescription stuff or if they're waiting to see what's up with my back first. Because I think the last thing they want is me to injure myself, at physical therapy, doing something stupid, So if I don't hear anything by the end of next week on that, I will give them either give the therapy office I was going to a call or give the doctor's office a call. And I guess something that kind of sucks is my usual headache medicine is now no longer being covered by my insurance. So that sucks.
Did they give a reason?
Nope. Just insurance issue and then canceled it. And this is for my cluster headaches, so hopefully I can get in touch with my neurologist and they can find something else to at least help. Because cluster headaches fucking suck. And yeah, for Prime Day, I actually ended up getting Super Mario Odyssey because it was like $25 or something like that. So I figured, why not? So I think this is like the second time I've played a 3D Mario game, and I don't even remember finishing 64. So, oh man. Oh wait, no, I played Sunshine. That's right, I did beat Sunshine.
I can do.
Yeah.
No, that'd only be if you 100% it, because
I'm not a masochist, my homie.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, that's kind of the biggest issue with Sunshine, isn't it? That they specifically gate what order you can do what missions in, so you have to do certain unfun ones if you want to try to get everything. If you want to try to get beyond a certain amount of stuff.
No, it's because the blue coins are rare level tedious, and there's
that too. Yes.
There's no reward for 100%ing other than like sunglasses or something. Like it was so minor, I don't even remember.
It was sunglasses, which that's cool and all, but fuck off.
Also, it's funny because the sunglasses, their main purpose is to counteract the increasing levels of bloom throughout the game as you get more and more shines into the big shine thing.
Yep.
Anyway.
But yeah, outside of that, not really a whole lot.
That's enough.
Yeah, I don't need any more, thanks.
Yeah. Well, Alex, it's your go.
Well, as you might have noticed from, what was it, during the... I think I've just had a little bit of a stomach bug for the last few days or something. Or because I don't think it was just anxiety, but I think I'm feeling a little bit better now. We'll see. It's also been alternating between very hot and humid and just kind of hot and very humid the last few days, and that was not fun and still isn't. But hopefully it'll cool down. I may install my air conditioner soon. Damn the bugs. My windows are a little bit oddly shaped, so I mean, specifically the frame of them. The bottom part is not totally flat, so whenever I install the air conditioner, no matter what I do about filling the gaps, there's something that bugs can get in through. And being up late with lights on aggravates that because, you know, what they say about moths and a light. Video game wise, I was finally the winning team for a Splatfest in the first time in quite a while as Team Vanilla, which was nice because you get a few more things that way, and also I think it's appropriate for Vanilla to win over Strawberry and Mint Chip, and the reason why they didn't have chocolate is because otherwise there was no chance.
I was about to say, so there wouldn't be one with 0%.
Yeah, this was about 40% to 30% to 30% ballpark in most categories. I think chocolate would have kind of swept, probably.
Yeah.
Like, more than that. Anyway, and I actually haven't played Tears of the Kingdom for a few days, so I will need to get back to that, although I'm almost done. Oh, and I finished playing Breath of the Wild with my dad, so we're trying to decide what we're going to do now. We may try and do a different game. We may go through Tears of the Kingdom, although I will probably need to steer more for that because his hands are not familiar with controllers still. And Tears of the Kingdom has a more complicated control scheme for recurring actions.
Yeah.
Specifically the way to throw stuff.
Can't you assign that to gyro?
No, just the button combinations. To throw an object, you have to right shoulder button to ready to throw a weapon, up on the D-pad to go into select item mode, and then left and right with the right stick to select the item that you're throwing.
Okay.
And likewise for arrow fusing, actually, minus the using the shoot bow button instead of the throw weapon button. And Dad has trouble with multi-button combinations. Anyway, we'll see what we end up doing about that. Oh, and unfortunately we had no Mac Langrisser last week because I had something else I had to do, which was my Cyberpunk Red role-playing group decided we had some schedule changes and I wanted to see if Sunday worked.
Did it?
Kind of, but it was more awkward for me than I thought it would be. So we're going to see if we can find something else next time, I think. But who knows when that'll be. It's a while in between when we get to play. It went well, it's just was a little bit awkward.
All right.
And I think that's everything.
Okay. Now, well, that means it's my go. Let's see. Well, the big news for me this week is I got my new phone. And it's all set up. I say this is the easiest phone setup I've ever had because eSIM cards are apparently a thing now. What that essentially means is I can transfer the data from the old cell phone to the new cell phone wirelessly. I'm shocked it took this long for that to be a thing.
Yeah.
Well, suffice to say, the new cell phone is up and running and it's working. Not really much to say beyond that. Like, though my old cell phone I had to give to my mother because she's having cell phone problems of her own, and that's in the repair shop, getting analyzed. Like, like the old phone can't make calls anymore because that's off the network, but can still like text and shit like that. So she can still keep into contact with people. Let's see. In terms of gaming, played a number of games recently. Let's see, including Enter the Gungeon, Cube Director's Cut, Namco Museum Archive Volume 1, which is kind of a lie. It's like the more accurate title is the Namcot Collection. Yes, yes, there is a pretty big distinction between that.
What's the T on that?
Namcot was Namco's home division back in the day. So the T signifies these are NES games instead of the arcade versions. Yeah. So instead of having the, say, arcade port of Pac-Man, this has the NES port of Pac-Man.
Ah, you mean the not good one?
The decent one. Like,
that's true. There were much worse.
Well, yeah, like it's no Atari 2600 version, for example, but it's not amazing either. And I actually had that back in the day, like the NES version of Pac-Man, like, and it's still got the same problem. Like using a D-pad for Pac-Man, it works. It's not ideal. It's kind of slippery. Like, but I'd say the main game I've been playing this week is Katamari Damacy Reroll. Which is
the first one, right?
Yes.
I need to get we love Katamari Reroll or whatever. Is the new one?
No. Yeah, we love Katamari and Reverie, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the second one.
The fuck is? Oh.
Yeah, it's like we love it because Me and My Katamari is the PSP one. Beautiful Katamari is the Xbox 360. I think Katamari Forever is the PlayStation 3, and
yep.
I can't remember what the PlayStation Vita one is offhand.
Touch My Katamari.
There we go. Like, surprisingly, that's not the DS version. There was no DS version.
I think there was one planned, but it was scrapped.
Like, but
if I remember correctly, I could be wrong.
Yeah, so Katamari Damacy Reroll it's the PlayStation 2 game in a Unity wrapper. So that causes some stuttering issues.
Yeah.
Like, that being said, still a great game. Definitely feeling the PlayStation 2-ness of it all.
Yeah.
Namely the camera. It's like, oh yeah, cameras around this time used to be trash.
Yeah, the first Katamari
it took them a while to figure that out.
And well, it's not helped that, because you have to use both analog sticks to move the Katamari. You can't use, there's no centering mechanic for the camera. Like, not even like the shoulder buttons, like it was in some other, other PlayStation 2 games.
What do you do?
It's just an active camera.
You just
just you have to trick the camera into doing what you want.
Yeah.
Which is why it took a long time for me to get the camera present, because it's in a really awkward location, where you have to do the Katamari dash, and it's like, no, camera, I don't want side view, I want it in the back.
Trying to aim, goddammit.
Yeah. Like, anyway, so merrily we shall move along to the interview portion of the broadcast, and joining us this week is our good friend Rue from the Retro Room, back here again.
Appreciate you guys having me on again.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
I appreciate that.
Indeed. Well, right. So there's a number of projects to talk about here. Since we last had you on the broadcast.
Yeah. I've been busy.
Indeed. First of which is Bad Isabella.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a point-and-click adventure game for the original Game Boy.
Right. Which you don't see very often.
There were reasons for this.
Yeah, definitely. Luckily, this game really does a good job at it. I think it does the genre well. I'm not sure if you had a chance to try it out yet, but it's definitely like. I've never played a point and click adventure on the Game Boy, but I like point and click adventure games. Like I grew up with them, so I'm kind of a sucker for them. And I think it does it pretty well. I think the guy Kyle, who I worked with on the project, he's the developer. He's really talented, and the art style and the theme of it really just added a lot of value. And then he did a really good job with the mechanics of it. So I think it turned out pretty well.
Well, I suppose the obvious question must be asked here, and how do you get a point-and-click adventure game to work on the Game Boy?
Like, we talking technically, or are we talking just, is it like...
I'd say in two senses of the words, both technically and mechanically, because, pointing, clicking with the Game Boy controls isn't exactly intuitive.
Right.
I
With any controller.
I assume you point with the D-pad and click with the A or B button.
Right, and luckily this doesn't feel too clunky. A lot of times I would imagine like a point and click to be really slow and clunky with the controller in general, not just the Game Boy, but playing with a controller in general kind of sucks, But this has, a good amount of speed to the movement, and it feels real smooth. So, I think it does the genre justice, especially being able to play it on the go, and that's kind of a cool thing. You pop it in your analog or your Game Boy, and you can play it as you go. Like technically, it was created like it was created in GB Studio, and they have a point and click system. But Kyle did a good job with keeping it nice and fresh and making it move smoothly. And like I said, I think what adds a lot is it's a horror comedy game, so the theme, the story, the graphics, everything plays into it really well. And it's been a game that a lot of people have quite enjoyed. It's been a hot seller on my site. So yeah, I think it's done the point and click genre justice.
Like, I imagine back in the day that there were probably things holding the genre back, because I can't think of a single point and click on the Game Boy.
Me neither. Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So, it's a credit to the modern retro game development tools, as oxymoronical as that sounds.
Right.
I want to say there was at least one, but it was like a first-person RPG.
I mean, I think I know what you're talking about. The Sword of Hope
Might be. Anyway, that had some kind of... It's not really point and click so much as move bracket cursor. Or no, that one I think that might have actually had a pointer. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that was the Sword of Hope games. Like, which were a first-person action... No, a first-person RPG that had the trappings of a point-and-click adventure game. But that's still not an actual proper point.
Yeah, no, it's not a full thing. It's just a game that has a function of investigating things via selecting them and
yeah. And
but yes, the main issue I think is on the Game Boy you have neither a lot of pixels to deal with, nor a lot of buttons.
Right.
Well, not only that, but the actual screen as well.
Yeah, it's small size. It's like 144 by 160 pixels, so it's pretty small. Pretty small.
Oh yeah, and also the fact that it was not high contrast could make picking out small details a little rough.
Yeah, like on the one hand, you'd think that point-and-click adventure games would be ideal for the Game Boy because the Game Boy has a very slow processor. It's why you saw a lot of puzzle games on the system.
Right.
But yeah, it's like, a genre where the term pixel hunting comes into play. You can see why they didn't do it back in the day as well. I gotta imagine somebody tried to do this back in the day. It's just, it never took.
I think one really important aspect of all point and click adventures, but especially this one, is the storytelling and the theme, and like I said, I think it really hit it on the head with the storytelling and the theme, because it's like a horror comedy, which is like kind of uniquely interesting in the sense of like the Addams Family is a horror comedy, so it kind of has that sort of feeling and theme to it, and it's just a really fun game. Like, it's really funny. So yeah, I think that really helped win a lot of it over, was the storytelling and the theme itself. The functionality is not bad either. It works good. The game works really good. As a point and click adventure, it's not bad for a modern point and click adventure, which is like a genre that's since really died. But yeah, I think Kyle did a really good job with this one.
Indeed. Okay, and what is the actual story of Batty Sabella here?
So there's like a multitude of stories that go on, and it sucks because I feel like I might spoil if I tell too much of it. But you play as this mistress, Batty Isabella, and you're in her mansion, and you're trying to uncover clues as to where your son is, and there's some puzzles like within the mansion that you have to uncover to figure some certain things out. But like I said, if I talk too much about it, because it's not a very, very long game, then I feel like I might spoil some things. But yeah, she's basically like an icon, and she's trying to save her family and get rid of these phantoms in her home, and she's very sassy. And yeah, there's a lot of things that you uncover along the way. So
that sounds good.
It's a cool game, and nowadays I'm trying to be, more and more selective with the games that I'm working with, and, trying to refine my company a little more in a certain direction. So, it was really a home run game. I truthfully enjoyed it and thought it was like, I knew others were going to enjoy it too. The graphics are great for the Game Boy, and it's just a really cool one.
Yeah. Is there a particular reason behind that selectivity?
It's just becoming more competitive, and as much as I'd love to give like every game that I can physical release so that I can keep these cool consoles alive. It's just getting harder with the competition out there, and if I want to keep on doing what I'm doing, I have to be more selective,
Mm.
which kind of sucks.
I suppose. Well, I mean, it's either that or expand.
Sure.
So you got to choose which one is more viable at your level, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have to make choices that are kind of tough sometimes, and there's really good games that I enjoy that, the market might not enjoy as much as other games, and that kind of sucks.
I mean, it's always a gamble.
Right.
Like,
Luckily, sometimes it's less of a gamble than other times, but yeah, it's always a gamble.
well, I mean, I suppose the difference is in we got Chip Challenge here, which is a known quantity, which is an old classic, just
Yeah.
brought to new platforms, versus something
Right.
like Batty Zabilla. It's a game being crafted for old hardware, but it's a new game.
Yeah, one of them's a slam dunk. For sure people are going to buy it. The other one, maybe. So yeah, it's definitely that. And I'm starting to understand which games are going to sell better than others. And sometimes I don't even care. Sometimes I take the risk because I like the game or I think the concept is cool. Another one that we're planning on talking about today is within the realm of that. We can get to it whenever you want. But yeah,
I mean, now seems like a good time, and I'm assuming you're talking about Red Moon Lost Days.
correct. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, which
So
is another interesting combination, and because this is a visual novel for the Saturn, which is definitely something that happened on the Saturn in its heyday.
right. The thing that makes this unique and the reason why I wanted to do it is because it was the first quote commercial release, a commercial indie release, I should say, on the Sega Saturn within our day. I've never seen one before, and the Saturn is a great console. I love the Sega Saturn, and I just want to see the Sega Saturn have more attention. I want it to get more games, and I want people to be excited to develop for the Saturn, and that's why I did that game. It's a cool visual novels are cool. It's cool, but
Right.
it's a little more of a hard sell because it's very niche. It's not only is it niche in genre, but it's niche in console. So it's a hard sell. But I wanted to see the Saturn get more games. I wanted to see the Saturn thrive because I truthfully love that console. So it was more of a risky bet.
Right. Though I think the issue with the Saturn isn't necessarily its nichiness, because the Dreamcast is similarly niche, but that I know has gotten commercial releases,
Right.
commercial aftermarket releases, like really ever since the discontinuation. Like
Right.
you shake a stick and you hit an indie shmup on that thing.
Right.
I think it comes down to more ease of development, because the Saturn
that's
is
true.
very infamously kind of a mess to develop for.
Right. Right. They came out with some new development kits that kind of helped the process, but yeah, you're right. It's pretty hard to develop for, and that's why there hasn't been any, commercial releases for it. And I was I wanted to be the first one, maybe to kick off more,
Indeed. And well, has Red Moon Lost Days come out yet?
Oh yeah, it's out there. It's for sale now.
That's what I thought. But I wanted to make sure. And
Yeah, it's
have people
available.
paid attention to this?
I'm sorry?
Well, I mean, have people noticed that there's a new Saturn game out there in the wild?
I wish that there was more people who were interested in it than what I had gotten. But yes, certainly there's been some press. I've had better press with other games for sure, but yeah, there's been some attention on it. Less than I'd like. Like I said, I want the Sega Saturn to get attention because I want developers to know that if they work on it, their games are going to get seen. You know.
Yes, I'd imagine you would want that. You know,
Right.
And that being said, what kind of visual novel is Red Moon Lost Days?
So this is another one where it's kind of hard to talk about without giving stuff away, but it is set in like a dystopian future where war has broken out between countries, and it's essentially about a friendship of these two people and their trials and tribulations through that war. So that's what it's about. Did I lose you guys?
I was just about to ask
I
you
still
guys
hear you, Adam. Are you there?
Yeah. No, I'm here. I'm here. Sorry. I think I hit the wrong button there. Like,
No worries.
anyway, so moving forward, I suppose, because we do have limited amounts of time here, as much as I would like to ruminate on every game at length, as there's
Sure.
4 of these. When I get here we go. No, that's the wrong. Sorry, when you have too many windows open, I trying to remember what the next game was. What the hell?
Maybe Satire in Hell.
Oh, right. The Collie game. Like,
Collie Defense.
yes,
Yeah,
that's the one.
that one. I just announced that game like a couple of days ago, and we're doing a Kickstarter on it.
Yeah. So this is another curious combination, but in this case, I can cite precedent and on older hardware, because this is going to be a real-time strategy game on the Game Boy Advance.
Right. Yeah, it's a
And-
tower defense style real-time strategy game. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, granted, you won't find a tower defense game on the Game Boy line of systems, mainly because the genre was just, at best, being invented by the time the Game Boy Advance was being put out to pasture.
Right.
But real-time strategy games, they do have a precedent on the Game Boy. Anyone else remember Warlock?
Yeah, I have a copy of it.
Oh, neat.
I don't, but I do know that the GBA had
Well-
perhaps a wider genre distribution than it is remembered for.
Well, Warlock isn't a Game Boy Advance game. It's a Game Boy Color game.
Yeah, somebody gifted it to me at a game convention, which I was glad to get my hands on it.
Yeah, so some mad lads decided to do a real-time strategy game on the Game Boy Color.
Sounds
And
about
the
right.
thing about it is, it's actually pretty decent. I mean, clearly it's not going to be on the level of a Command and Conquer or Warcraft, but it's not an utter disaster either, like the premise would suggest.
Right. Yeah, I'm really hyped for Collie Defense. We're doing a Kickstarter on it simply because we want to expand the features and maybe do some modern console ports. So that's kind of what we're stretching towards. Like releasing the game, financially is not a problem. It's the fact that we want to be able to do more with it because it's so addicting. And the guy I'm working with on it, Yan, he is just extremely talented. The music is cool. The gameplay is fun and addicting. It's family friendly style and just really hyped. I hope that we can get some true funding on it so that we can do some more with it because we want to add more stuff to it, and that takes time and money.
Indeed. Well, is the Kickstarter campaign active now?
So right now you can sign up to be notified for updates for when we do activate it. And I'm just trying to build hype on it right now. I've done several Kickstarters before, and you really just gotta hype them up for a little while before you open them up, or you're gonna fall on your face. So luckily I've had successful Kickstarters in the past, and I think Call of Defense will be successful too, especially like once we get the demo out there and people get their hands on it, and they see the graphics are extremely well done and the music is really cool, and I think it'll do good.
I mean, isn't that always the hope?
Yeah, that's the hope. And typically, I wouldn't do Kickstarters, for just any game. I usually just release them. I was just like, I'll release it. It's just usually, I have another game that I'm doing for the Super Nintendo that I'm just gonna release because there's no way that we can expand on it. I don't have source code for it. We were able to finish it with ROM hacking. It was a canceled game previously, and but there's nothing else that I can do with it, So I'm just going to release it, But to do a Kickstarter is for, expansion reasons. We're probably going to reach the goal because it's low. I keep it low because I want the game to get out there, but yeah, in order to get those sort of expansive features, more towers, more levels, more of this and that, I think it calls for more money.
16 times the detail. Wait a minute.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a question from the chat. Budget Nostalgia asks, what would be your dream game collab that you haven't gotten yet?
Ooh. That one for me is easy. I don't know if anybody else has one.
I mean, there are several, but you go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'd like to hear one of yours.
I'm like,
just off the top of the head.
I mean, it depends on the nature of the collaboration, but like, I'd like to see another Chrono Trigger game from the Dream Team.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
But it's like, what are we talking in terms of game collaborations here?
My dream collaboration is my company remaking and adding to a new version of Ski Free, the old Windows game. Do you guys remember that game?
I do.
Dude, I want Ski Free. That whenever I first started my company, I had no licensing deals. I had one game that I was publishing. I was writing to Windows and writing to the developer of Ski Free, trying to get a license for that game. And they didn't give me any sort of response, but luckily I reached out to some of the right people, and that's how I got Chip's Challenge. But man, I want Ski Free still. It's my it's my winner.
Microsoft never owned Chip's Challenge.
Right. It was licensed.
I'm not sure if they own Ski Free or not.
There's an original developer, that worked on it, and I reached out to him, but I couldn't get a hold of him. I didn't get any response. It'd be cool if I even got told no. Another collaboration that I would love to do is I want to work with Ed, the guy who did Echo the Dragon, or not Echo the Dragon, Echo the Dolphin. Sorry, he made the Echo the Dolphin games. He also made a game called Calibri, and it's you know what I'm talking about? It's for the 32X.
We know Ed. We had him on the show recently.
Dude, Ed's great, dude. He's a cool guy. And another thing, whenever I first started doing this, I reached out to him and I was like, "Can I do Calibri, dude?" And he was like, "Sure." He's like, "You can work on it." And I was such a noob. He was so nice to me. Like, he was so nice to allow that.
Does Adam need to slide you in an email address when we're done?
Dude, I communicated with him directly, and he was more nice than he should have been with me because I was such an idiot and so new. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, but no. We know Ed. We had him on the show. Once last season, once like a month ago or so.
Yeah, something like that.
But he's an interesting legend.
Dude, he was really kind to me. Let's just put it that way, because I was a fucking dumbass, like trying to bite off more than I can chew, and he probably knew that. And but he was really nice about it, and maybe one day I can actually get around to that project. It was really ambitious for me, just kind of pulling it out of my ass, but like I said, he was cool about it.
Yeah. Budget nostalgia further clarifies. I was thinking for publishing. So I think what he's asking is, what would be the dream game for you to publish?
Dude, Ski Free all day, dude. That was the first one that I went after. Freaking Ski Free, dude. But honestly, it would be cool to work on some sort of like really big commercial game, like from Konami or something, like and work on something like from that's been really well known. And it's not like Chips Challenge or something like that isn't, but who's still working on modern games? Like if I could do like a Silent Hill game, or like something that's more modern, but also put it out for retro consoles.
Right. I mean, Konami is
working on Silent Hill. Yeah.
Yeah, is working on Silent Hill again and letting external developers touch this franchise again.
Right.
And there's been some worrying signs on that lately, if I've heard correctly.
Well, Silent Hill
opinions on this.
Yeah, it's not been in a good state for a while.
I'm like, and I remember some of their old efforts to do this and how it didn't work out.
Right. That original trilogy was cool to me. I even liked what's that one, The Room. That one was fun. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, Silent Hill 4 is divisive, but that was still Team Silent.
I thought it was fun, yeah. And then after that, they started getting the other studios involved, and it kind of went to shit. But I also liked the Wii game. The one on the Wii was pretty okay. I thought it was cool.
I mean, Shattered Dimensions was a bold experiment, I'll say.
It was unique. You're holding the flashlight, you're running away. I don't like when shit chases me and I have to run, so it was like my worst nightmare.
But I think my problem with that game was there was no fail state. There was no consequences for actually losing.
Failing. Right.
Yeah.
I guess they were trying to gear it towards that Wii audience, general base, So I get it, but it's like you said, Silent Hill's been in better places, But I would love to work on a Silent Hill game, dude. Even if I can make like a low poly sort of PS1 style, or even better than that, if I could remake the first Silent Hill properly for like in Unreal Engine 5, like that would be super cool,
I mean, Silent Hill 1 did get demade for the Game Boy Advance.
I didn't even know that. Interesting. I didn't know that. That's kind of cool.
Only, so yeah. And Ski Free was released on the original game. Was released on the Game Boy Color as part of the Microsoft
Entertainment Pack, right?
Which is where it was on the PC as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to give it. I'd love to give it the HD remake vibe, and release it for the Switch.
Yeah. And also we should mention here is A Satyr in Hell.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
oh yes. So I teamed up with a developer named Dimitri, and he's from Greece, and he just makes Sega games for fun, and he's just a really cool dude. And that wasn't my first choice with him of games, but I thought it was a good entrance. But I plan to do more of his games because he just continues to get more and more talented, and and it's cool to release games on the Sega, man. It's a cool system. So that game's a really difficult puzzle game. If you ever get your hands on, if you like really difficult puzzles that are speed based, it's good for you.
Okay.
And obviously, you guys like Chips Challenge, so.
Yeah. I mean, we have a affinity to Sokoban style games.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, this would be a little bit different because it is timed. So figuring out the puzzles, you have to move quick, and it's brutally hard. It's a difficult game, so that's not the first really hard game that I've published, but it certainly is, in my opinion, one of the hardest.
Duly noted. Duly noted.
It's a good game, though. It's cool if you like those kind of games. Definitely.
And did he make this for the Genesis?
Yeah, it's for the Genesis.
Okay.
I'm trying to work on doing some ports of it, but unsuccessfully. Really, I'm trying to do ports for somebody else in the industry, but it would be nice to have my games that are Sega games ported as well.
Eddie, is everything okay there? The game footage just stopped.
Yeah, I just got distracted by something.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't like, oops, my computer disconnected.
Yeah, no, trust me, you know.
Yeah. I mean, we're broadcasting, so,
Mhm.
Yeah, I figured it couldn't be that bad, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
What, one of your cats strike you?
Nah, just something on my phone.
Okay. Anyway, so how big is your operation these days?
Say that again?
How big is your company? How many people are you still a solo operation? Like,
No, definitely not. Actually, Budget Nostalgia is one of the people that I work really closely with. It's cool that he's in the chat too, and he's from Ireland, and he's just a genuinely talented and kind human being. Like, he's probably the best person that I've ever worked with as far as partners go in the company. I just can't I can't talk more highly about him. He's really great. He's really like the sole other partner of this company. We work with other developers, obviously, and they're licensed. A lot of them are licensed deals, or we hired a friend of mine, a friend of ours, actually, Scott, to do some programming, and we try to keep things in house, with our friends to work on games and stuff like that. But yeah, he's really like a true like a stone, like what would you call it, like a heart of this company. He's done every single release since I started it with me, so it's just been him and me, really.
the rock of the company.
Meaning that I could not do it without him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Words
I
are
think
hard.
I mean, another one we work here is Anchor.
Anchor, yeah, the heart, So he's just really put in a lot of effort and work, and he's like in the lowest of times and the highest of times he's been around, and he gives me good advice, and he's done all of the cover art and stuff, and manual designs for every single game that I put out except for like one, I think. So yeah, he's just a talented dude. I'll handle the licensing. I'll handle like the a lot of the marketing, but he helps with marketing. He does a lot of the art, and a lot of the like packaging and stuff like that. And he's just now getting into doing like a lot of that. We're trying to replace our printer, and have him take over on printing the boxes, so we can be more in house printing the manuals and the labels, and just trying to get a system to where we're more in house than outsourcing. But yeah, he's a big part of it. So
yeah, and so you've talked about a good deal about original games that you're developing and publishing, but what do you have in terms of old games unearthed?
yeah, so there's one that I like halfway announced. I kind of teased announced, but I'll tell you guys what it is. And it's a game that was previously canceled by Ocean Software. And it's
boy.
a game. It's a Super Nintendo game, and they were just going to be the publisher. There was like a, there was a whole design and development team, and they were just going to be the publisher. So don't worry. But it's a game called Mr. Tough, and you can look it up. it's out there, but it was almost finished and it got canceled, and we got the rights to it, and we're gonna give it the release that it deserves.
Oh
I'm
man.
like, and what platforms was this thing in development for?
The Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis.
Okay. And I'm guessing it was a mascot-based platformer based off of that name.
Yeah, it was
Kind of what it
definitely.
looks like.
It's at the height of that sort of mascot-based.
Yep.
And what sucks is it was towards the end of the Super Nintendo development, and so it would have been overshadowed most certainly. But it's a good game. It's a lot of fun. It's quirky. I think, like, my favorite, if not one of my favorite games that I'll ever work with, because it's just so quirky and fun. It really represents the kind of things that I like to put out for my company. So it's a neat one, man, and just a shame. It hurts me as a developer when games get canceled. I hate to see that. That's like, dude, you put so much fucking work into a game and you work on it, and sure, you get like a paycheck from some dumbass company, but you don't get to see your game played or enjoyed by the masses, or even hated. I mean, there's times where I got roasted into the ground, for mistakes that I made, So, but you don't get that experience whenever your game gets shit canned. So I try to grab as many of those as I can.
I would say it depends on the circumstances, because there are games that get canceled for very good reasons.
Yeah,
Though,
sometimes, most certainly.
though typically those don't make it to near the finish line, from what I've seen.
I have a license for a game that was never published officially, and it's
Mhm.
it's an FMV game. I can't say it yet because we're not that close to it, but it's an FMV game for the CDI and for the PC, and
Mhm.
it's pretty fucking bad. But sometimes bad is good. Sometimes bad is fun.
I mean, that's kind of the entire ethos of FMV games from that time period.
Right. Right.
Like, I mean, I like like. Can you name a good FMV game that appeared in the 16-bit era?
I'll tell you what, they're all good to me.
So
I love them
plumbers
all.
don't wear ties gets thrown out a
It's
window.
great. It's great. It's a good one, man. Actually played that for the first time recently. Hilarious.
I'm like, well, that's good in the bad way.
This one that I'm talking about is very similar to that. It is
Yeah.
bad, but it is good.
Yeah,
And I can't wait to release it. It's another risky game though, where I know I'm risking everything. I have to make some money before I do it, because I don't think it's gonna perform. It's not gonna make me all these sales, but I really want to see it out there. So it becomes another one of those.
I mean, Limited Run Games has been putting these out for some time.
Right.
So,
the difference between Limited Run Games and me is that they have a fucking huge budget. So
right.
those guys are doing really, really big shit. So
I mean, I'm just saying that they have released Night Trap and Corpse Killer, and
right.
they're doing a definitive version of Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
Right. I can't say that I'm not jealous of them, because I am.
I can imagine, because
Definitely.
they're in a position where they can do, how do I put this, indulgences.
Right. Yeah. They can release those games where they know we might not make a whole lot of money, but who cares? We want to do it,
Yeah.
But
another thing that they announced recently is the Jurassic Park collection.
Oh yeah, and I'd love to see that too. I love I'm a sucker for the Jurassic Park games, good or bad. I love the Super Nintendo one too. I mean, that's the one that gets a lot of flack, and the FMV one. It's great.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's a package of all the ocean Jurassic Park games. None of the second one. because
Yeah. I saw that they excluded this because Sega owns them and they're not going to give it up. But here's the thing: I only like would talk shit about limited run games because I'm genuinely jealous of the opportunities that they get over mine. But they get to do cool shit, and so do I. I definitely, and I'm working my way up to being, a company that has more opportunity. So that's cool. But
well, we certainly need as many companies as we can get because I do have to bring this up, and that is according to what the Video Game History Foundation, only about 13% of classic games are available.
We're losing them. Yes, we're losing them.
I have issues with the usage of the words losing those games because the study is about availability and not availability to like access and not
right.
like and not
It's
like
because the companies are the ones that are gatekeeping.
right, but there's a difference between I can't get this on Steam or any modern storefront and
I can't get it at all.
right, and they did clarify that versus like going to an archive or it's still on physical media because
right.
But it's an issue, but it's not the same issue as oh no, this incredibly rare
like the Sega Channel games. A lot of them are gone to obscurity because Sega didn't want to share.
All DSiWare games are nuked.
Right.
Or Xbox Live indie games that didn't
let me tell you something crazy, okay? I can't tell you the company, but I have a guy who does licensing stuff with me. I have a couple of them, but one of the guys that does licensing stuff with me, I should say, we were in talks with a big company about using some of their intellectual property that's not being used at all. It's like you said, it's just being gatekept. They wanted me to give them like $50,000 to even talk about it, to even just talk about it. So I was like, dude, who do you think I am?
Can you still hear him?
Yes.
Like,
are you having problems, Adam?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Adam, can you hear me? Yeah, you got to come back in.
Yeah, he broke. This sometimes
you there,
happens.
Adam?
There we go. I don't know. The connection just cut off there. You were saying?
Yeah, so I approached a company about getting some of their intellectual property that was not being used, kind of like what we're saying, where they're just kind of gatekeeping it, and it was not being used at all. And they told me that to even negotiate it, that they wanted me to give them $50,000.
I'm like, you're not the first to come onto this program to talk about this particular problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, probably not going to be the last either.
Mm-hmm.
See, they don't understand the value because even if you were to make
it's not
$1,000, even if that company was to make $1,000, it's the fact that we could get the game back out there, and they wouldn't have made that $1,000. They're not using the intellectual property anyway. It's not being used. What's the harm, right? And you make money.
Well, you see, if there are eyeballs looking at that, then they might not be looking at the products that the company wants you to look at because, every eyeball has a limited number of things it can look at.
See, that's their logic, I think, behind it. But it's very frustrating because there's a market of people who maybe solely play retro games that will actively support this. That doesn't care about what EA is doing today, or whatever company.
Out in the pre-show, kids. If I ever have kids, they'd never be able to play the original version of Sonic the Hedgehog. Like, yeah, there have been ports, but there are some quirks with the original Genesis version they'll never be able to experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure about that because if only because, the original version of Sonic the Hedgehog got ported to a number of systems.
They did, but they did do some bug fixes that weren't on the original Sega Genesis release.
Well, that's also not necessarily true because here's the trick that they did for some of these releases. They used the Japanese version, and kind of modified with the American stuff.
Yeah.
But the Japanese version came out later, so it had some of the bug fixes.
I think some of them are using Japanese version 1.2.
Yeah, that.
I don't know. That would be proper logic, budget nostalgia in the comment, but they aren't gonna release it themselves. They didn't. They aren't doing shit with it. Sorry, guys. I had to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
They're not using what I'm talking about. Like, I can't out them, but dude.
They figure they can still make some money off of it, not necessarily by using it, but they'll note it would cost you $50,000 to get into the door. Well,
yeah,
that's $50,000 in their pocket.
And there's no way that I would. There's none of my games have made $50,000. Well, I mean, gross. I mean, profit. None of my games have made 50,000 profit. So it's an
adjacent it's an adjacent mindset to the ones where they'll delete existing things off servers to keep people from watching them, just because they might have to pay residuals if people watch them.
Well,
looks violently at HBO.
My philosophy is to always cut these companies in, and I want to see the games be released more than anything, and it just astonishes me that they really just won't give it up. They're not going to do anything with it,
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They don't want anyone else doing anything with it either.
Yeah, to me it's just like such a dumb concept because it just stops the game. It just stops games from being, made.
I mean,
or published. I mean, sorry.
They don't care.
They don't. No, you're right. They very simply do not care. They make enough money not to care.
I'm you'd be hard pressed to get Activision to care about, well, pretty much anything that isn't Call of Duty these days.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Spyro, you crazy bastard.
Yeah, they made so much money off of Call of Duty. They don't give a shit about anything else. And I get it from a company standpoint. Like, I understand. I run a company too.
Yeah.
But I also have a passion for video games, and I also have a passion for retro games, and saving games. So.
It's like I bring up Activision because, they were one of the best developers on like the Atari 2600.
Yeah.
But you'd be hard, like I think the last time they released a collection of their classic games was maybe the PlayStation 2.
Sometimes I'm pretty happy sometimes to see whenever companies, allow games that I wouldn't normally imagine them to allow to be put out into the market, But it's like you said, I think the Video Game Foundation was like talking about how most of them are gone. Most of them.
Yeah. There are other issues, like licensing is a big one.
Yes. Like, look at the Mighty Max series, Yeah, the games are shit. The game for the Genesis was shit. I mean, it was okay, but the show is cool. The concept is cool. The toys are cool. Or at least I enjoyed them as a kid. I mean, that franchise is just in limbo right now because of licensing. Nobody can get their hands on it because people want to fight. They want a dick swing,
Well, sometimes it just might be. Was anybody going after that? Like,
definitely, yeah.
It's like
it's valuable now. I think it's a valuable name now for nostalgia.
I mean, I also have to wonder about that because like Mighty Max hasn't come back in any sort of nostalgia grab either.
It's because it's stuck in licensing limbo. The companies that own it will not share it. Like, one of them or two of them, like it's in some sort of licensing limbo. I know this because I was looking into getting rights
The most valid comparison there, I think, what Adam is saying is compared to Polly Pocket, which Mighty Max was literally like a Four Boys version of, which did have a not amazingly successful, but they've had some comebacks in the last several years.
Right. Versus Mighty Max, which, I haven't heard of it like, oh, hey, we're bringing back this old property from the 90s.
Well, I think it's the concept that, like we were talking about earlier, where sure, you might not make the $50,000, but you can either make $0 or you can make something.
Well, something like Mighty Max is further complicated because we're talking about layered licensing.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
we're
talking about a game that's based off of a toy line. And,
sure.
Once again, anything licensed has to go through extra hoops.
Right. Well, I would love to even get my hands on a toy line, and build video games or whatever media based upon that, But
if I had to guess, I think another step on that is that the toy line was very much part of that era's gross is cool stuff in boys' toys.
Yeah.
Which is not quite the style currently.
It was the era of creepy crawlers.
Yeah, creepy crawlers. That was good. But you see, we're talking about stuff that could be nostalgia based,
Mm-hmm.
So I think it could stand a chance in the realm. It might not make $1 million for a company, but it's certainly better than making $0.
Well,
you'd think so.
Yeah, but you're talking about the more straightforward cases. A case like Mighty Max, it's a case of you got to secure the underlying license. You got to make sure that you get the actual games. Once again, going back to the Jurassic Park edition, this is why Limited Run could get the Ocean games, but not the
Sega. Right? Sega's not giving them up.
Yeah,
there's that layer. Yeah, the extra layer of licensing.
Yeah, there were a few other games like people thought they got the right license, but they actually didn't, and they had to basically make something brand new because they weren't able to use the original games.
Sucks. I hate all the legal shit. And like I said, a lot of these times the companies are just greedy or whatever, they just don't want to give it up for whatever reason. Who knows? There's no answer. Why can't I remake Ski Free? Ski Free's not being used. People have made bootleg copies of Ski Free all day long. Why the fuck can't I make a remake if I'm gonna make the original developers money? Really, it's just them crossing their arms and saying, "Because I don't want you to."
I mean, legally
that's their
speaking,
right. That's their right.
It's like legally speaking, that's their right.
Sure.
If they don't want Thing X to happen, Thing X is gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like the Back to the Future franchise. They don't want to make another movie till the homie dies or whatever. So make one after I'm dead,
Well, I mean, I think several people who worked on Back to the Future didn't want that.
Yeah, look what they did to Ghostbusters.
Yeah. But then again,
is that controversial?
Well, Ghostbusters has had a couple of not amazing revival attempts. Let's just say.
Well, I mean, even Ghostbusters 2 was not.
We're on the same page then.
Like,
they don't want that to happen to their franchise. It's the bottom line, pretty much. But yeah, and I get that. That's their right. Yeah. Cool, But
I mean, also, and I know we're not supposed to officially advocate for such things, but in terms of preservation, I have publicly advocated for piracy more than once because if it's a choice between piracy or oblivion, I have to choose piracy because that's still preserving the game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of those. I guess the official stance of the show is if you can get it legally, get it legally. If it doesn't exist legally, put on your pirate hat, matey.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, though, you can also kind of debate the concept of like obscurity or rarity. You know, like I don't think that I'm ever gonna buy a like Panzer Dragoon Saga for the $2,000. I can't afford that, but the game's great. I had to pirate it to play it. You know, I don't have $2,000 to spend on it.
No,
It is available. It is out
and
there.
that's
Sure,
part of
you
the
can buy it.
piracy as a demo concept a lot of people use.
Right.
Well, it's not so much piracy as a demo in the case of Panzer Dragoon Saga. It's because
Give me a reasonable price. You know, give me a reasonable way to buy it.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
mean, this is another issue. Yeah, this is an issue with the obscure, limited run games, like not just that, but like the Saturn version of House of the Dead and Shining Force 3 and
Oh god, don't get me
Burning
started on
Rangers.
Shining Force 3 for the love of God.
Well, yeah, I'm like, my point is, these were like the last Saturn games that got incredibly small print run numbers.
There's a small, and then I think there was a estimate of like less than 1,500 with Shining Force.
Possibly,
At least the English release.
yeah, but you're not going to get that for any sort of reasonable price.
Oh god, no,
You
you
know?
are.
So
you are
if you want to
not
play
getting
that,
reasonable.
you got
Yeah,
one choice to play it, and that's to pirate it. You know.
Mhm.
yeah.
So
Well, it's like two choices. It's either that or you pay the very exorbitant prices going for.
throw down a mortgage payment. You know.
Yeah, I'm like, or you happen to luck out and have one of those games. Like, I still own a copy of Burning Rangers somewhere.
See, that's another good
Yeah.
comparison. You know, it's not a cheap game. You know, and it's it's an awesome game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because these games were made for the Saturn, excluding like House of the Dead, which saw releases elsewhere and got a remake on its own. But there's no other way to play it because Sega. It's not so much that they haven't gotten around to it, because they did speak about doing a Saturn Mini recently, but the problem is Saturn emulation is hard.
Because the infrastructure they used.
Yeah. Because
and decisions about the number of points you need to make a polygon.
And also, should we make this system a 2D powerhouse, or should we hedge our bets with the 3D stuff?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are getting low on time. So,
Indeed.
Any last questions to ask Rue here?
I think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's always good chatting with you guys. You know, I really enjoy it.
And
this was a good show. This was a good one.
Yes, I think so as well. Indeed, and if you out in the audience enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as is the tradition of these things. And we look forward to your next visits whenever that may be, Rue.
Sure, anytime, guys.
Indeed. So we do have to cut the topic of discussion this week, but coming up on the week ahead.
That just goes to show the passion, you know?
Yeah. Believe me, we were much more passionate about this than talking about Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Like, that was more because Call of Duty's been in the news recently.
I don't even play Call of Duty games, so I wouldn't even know what the news is.
Well, like, PlayStation is going to get it for 10 more years.
Oh, I saw something about this. Yeah.
But anyway, coming up on the week ahead. So we do have a new installment of Moonhawk Studios Presents happening. Presumably, as far as we know. I know I have to quantify that right now. Anyway, coming up on Friday, July 21st, we'll be having Paul Schneff of Grizzly Games. They are currently in development of the game Thronefall. And also, we'll be having a Let's Play multiplayer session of the game Perfect Partners. And on Sunday, we'll be having reviews of Lost Awakening, Dark Quest 3, Octocurse, and Perfect Partner. All right. And so until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.
Yeah, same to you guys.